The cargo bay smelled like rust and recycled air. Wilson Reed checked the manifest for the third time that hour, his prosthetic left arm whirring softly as he moved crates of medical supplies into proper storage. 15 years since Earth joined the galactic community and humans still got the worst delivery contracts. The pay was terrible, but honest work kept the nightmares at bay most nights. His communicator buzzed with an emergency alert. Every screen in the Meridian Exchange Station flickered to life, showing a Varium pirate leader named Krell holding a plasma blade to a human woman's throat. 200 hostages taken from a civilian transport, including 47 humans. The pirates wanted weapons, ships, and free passage through Council space. They gave the Galactic Council 3 days to comply or hostages would die. Wilson watched Commander Illith's statement from station security. The insectoid alien's mandibles clicked with confident authority as he explained that trained negotiators would resolve the crisis peacefully. Violence was primitive. The Council had centuries of diplomatic experience. Everything would be handled properly through established channels. Diana Cross stood beside Wilson now. The former Special Forces sniper had burned scars running down her neck from saving her unit during the Manila evacuation. She worked station security, but the alien officers treated her like a mascot. "They're going to let those people die," she said quietly. "Council doesn't understand," Wilson replied. "They think pirates negotiate in good faith." "How long before the first execution?" Diana asked. "Krell's species values strength above everything," Wilson said. "He'll kill someone within 24 hours just to prove he's serious." Robert Hayes joined them. The former Army medic's hands still shook sometimes when the station got too loud. Too many memories of field hospitals and soldiers he couldn't save. "I've been listening to the Council Security Channel," he said. "They're actually debating whether human emotional responses might complicate negotiations." Diana laughed without humor. "They think we're the problem." Across the station, aliens went about their business with minimal concern. The Zelthians continued their merchant operations. The Corvan scholars debated philosophy in their cultural center. The Varium diplomatic delegation issued statements condemning the pirates, but took no action. To most galactic species, violence was an aberration, something that happened to other people in other places. Humans knew better. Earth had taught them that predators existed everywhere, and ignoring them just made you prey. Wilson's communicator lit up again. This time a private channel. 8 other human veterans on the station wanted to meet. Cargo Bay 7 in 1 hour, no station security. 23 humans gathered in total. Former Marines, Navy pilots, Army Rangers, and Special Operations. Some missing limbs, others carrying invisible wounds. All of them done with official service, but not done with protecting people. They'd seen the broadcast. They knew what was coming. "Council's going to negotiate for weeks," said Calvin Ortiz. The former Navy pilot had lost both legs when his fighter crashed on Titan, but his prosthetics made him faster than most natural runners. "Those hostages don't have weeks." "Station security laughed when I offered to help," Diana said. "The shift commander actually patted my head like I was a child." "They think we're soft," said a young woman named Ashley Park, barely 24 but already a veteran of the asteroid belt conflicts. "They've only seen human diplomats and merchants. They don't know what we can do." Wilson looked at the faces around him. Every person there had scars. Every person there had lost friends. Every person there knew exactly what needed to be done. "If we act, the Council will call it criminal," he said. "We'll be violating about 40 different station regulations." "And if we don't act, Krell kills everyone," Robert replied. "I didn't spend 3 years putting soldiers back together just to watch civilians die because aliens don't understand urgency." They voted, unanimous decision to move forward. Diana had been tracking the pirate ship's movements since the attack. She'd noticed a pattern in their shield rotation, a 2-second gap every 11 minutes when scanners could penetrate. "I know where they're hiding," she said. "Asteroid field designated Sector 19 Alpha." Calvin knew a smuggler with a fast ship. Someone who owed him a favor and didn't ask questions. The broken promise wasn't pretty, but she could move. 4 hours to reach them if we leave now, he calculated. Robert started gathering medical supplies, trauma kits, pain suppressors, emergency surgical tools. We're going to have wounded, he said. Theirs and ours. Ambassador Lucia Grant found them as they prepared. Earth's diplomatic representative had been arguing with the Council for hours trying to make them understand the danger. I should stop you, she said. This could destroy everything we've built here. Those are our people dying, Wilson said simply. Grant looked at each veteran, saw the determination, the readiness, the controlled violence that peaceful species never recognized in human diplomats. I'll give you 6 hours before I report this, she finally said. After that, I have to protect Earth's interests. 6 hours is enough, Wilson replied. They moved through maintenance tunnels that station security didn't monitor. Aliens had designed the Meridian Exchange for efficiency, not paranoia. Humans had learned to always have a back exit. The docking bay loomed ahead. Calvin's smuggler friend waited beside the broken promise. The ship looked like it had survived 3 wars and a meteor shower. She flies, the smuggler said. That's all I promise. Wilson was the last aboard. He took one look back at the station where aliens continued their peaceful existence. They would learn soon enough. Humanity hadn't asked to be warriors. Earth had simply never given them a choice. Every predator, every disaster, every war had shaped them into survivors. The broken promise launched without clearance. Alarms screamed across station security channels. Commander Illith's voice crackled with outrage, demanding they return immediately. Diana silenced the communication. 4 hours to Sector 19 Alpha, she said. The veterans checked their weapons in silence, each one remembering why they'd stopped fighting, each one knowing why they had to start again. The galaxy had mistaken their kindness for weakness, their diplomacy for cowardice. Krell and his pirates were about to learn the difference between peaceful and harmless. 3 hours into the flight, and the broken promise shuddered through another asteroid field. Calvin's hands moved across the controls with practiced ease despite the prosthetic legs that had replaced the ones he'd lost. The ship's hull groaned but held. Behind him, 22 veterans prepared for combat in their own ways. Diana sat cross-legged on the deck cleaning her rifle. The weapon was old Earth military issue, chemical propellant instead of the plasma weapons most aliens preferred. Galactic Council thinks these are primitive, she said to no one in particular. They don't understand that simple means reliable. How's your shoulder? Robert asked. He'd noticed her favoring her left side. Burns always ache in recycled air, Diana replied. I'll manage. Wilson reviewed the scanner data. The pirate ship was exactly where Diana had predicted. A converted mining barge called the Blood Taker. 70 pirates confirmed on thermal scans. Hostages grouped in 3 cargo sections. They're not even trying to hide, he observed. Why would they? Ashley said. The galaxy's most powerful military force is the Galactic Defense Fleet, and they've never responded to a hostage situation in less than 2 weeks. They think they have time, Wilson agreed. That's our advantage. The veterans shared stories as the ship drew closer to their target. Robert talked about the field hospital on Ganymede, where he'd learned that sometimes saving one life meant accepting you couldn't save another. Diana described the fire that had scarred her, how she'd carried 3 unconscious soldiers through burning wreckage while her combat suit melted into her skin. A young veteran named Chris Lopez showed everyone a photo of his daughter, 7 years old and living on Earth. She asks why I left the military if I was so good at it, he said. How do I explain that being good at killing people isn't something to be proud of? You tell her you were good at protecting people, Wilson said. The killing was just what it took. Calvin's voice crackled over the intercom. 20 minutes to target. Station security is still screaming at us to turn around. Let them scream, Wilson replied. Back on Meridian Exchange, Commander Illith watched the human ship approach the pirate vessel. His security team had placed bets on how quickly the veterans would die. The Varium were natural warriors, 8 feet tall with armored hide and bone ridges that could deflect most small arms fire. Humans were soft creatures barely 6 feet tall with fragile skin and weak muscles. Ambassador Grant stood beside Illith watching the same screens. "You don't understand what you're about to see," she said quietly. "Explain it to me," the commander replied. "Every species in the Council evolved on peaceful worlds," Grant began. "Your planet had herbivores and a stable climate. The Zelthians developed on a world without predators. The Corvan homeworld had abundant resources and no competition." "And Earth?" Illith asked. "Earth tried to kill humanity every single day," Grant said. "Predators that hunted in packs, diseases that wiped out entire populations, ice ages and droughts and volcanic winters. Humans survived because the ones who couldn't fight didn't pass on their genes." "That was millions of years ago," Illith protested. "It never stopped," Grant replied. "When humans ran out of natural predators, we became our own worst enemy. 5,000 years of recorded history and maybe 300 years total without a major war somewhere on the planet. We didn't choose to be warriors. We just eliminated everyone who wasn't." The broken promise attached to the Blood Taker's hull with magnetic clamps. No alarms. The pirate sensors were calibrated to detect large ships, not small boarding parties. Humans had learned centuries ago that the best way to hunt was to not be seen. Diana bypassed the airlock security in 40 seconds. The team entered in two-person formations, weapons ready, moving through corridors with the kind of coordination that only came from shared combat experience. They'd trained together for years before most had retired. Old habits returned like muscle memory. 2 Varium guards stood watch at a junction. They were massive creatures, their armored hide gleaming in the ship's dim lighting. They laughed at something on their communicators, completely relaxed, unprepared. Diana's first shot took the left guard through the eye, the only unarmored spot on a Varium's face. Her second shot hit the right guard in the same location before he could even process his partner falling. Both bodies dropped without raising an alarm. "Sweet mercy," Chris whispered. "I forgot how good you are." "No mercy for slavers," Diana replied, moving forward. They reached an observation point above the main cargo bay. 200 hostages sat in groups separated by species. Humans clustered together in one corner. A teenage boy was being dragged to the center of the room by 3 pirates. Krell stood waiting with a recording device, preparing another execution message. Wilson recognized the boy, David Wung, 17 years old. He'd been traveling with his family to visit relatives on a colony world. His parents sat with the other hostages. His mother was crying. "We don't have time for the full plan," Wilson said. "Diana, cover from here, everyone else with me. We breach in 30 seconds. "That's suicide," Ashley protested. 70 pirates against 22 of us. "Against 23, Wilson corrected, "and they're expecting scared civilians, not us." Robert gripped his medical kit. "I'll stay with the hostages once you clear the immediate area." Diana settled into firing position, her rifle trained on Krell's head. "Say the word." Wilson counted down on his fingers. 3, 2, 1. The cargo bay doors exploded inward. Wilson and 18 veterans poured through, weapons firing with precision that shocked the pirates into momentary paralysis. Diana's covering fire dropped 4 Varium before they could draw weapons. Krell grabbed David as a shield. "Foolish humans," he roared. "You cannot defeat us." Wilson's shot took Krell in the shoulder, purposefully missing the boy. "Let him go." "You're weak," Krell snarled. "Your entire species trembles at violence." "We tremble because we know what it costs," Wilson replied. "You celebrate it because you've never faced real warriors." The battle began in earnest. Krell threw David aside and charged, 8 feet of armored muscle moving faster than something that size should. Wilson stood his ground, fired 3 shots center mass. The rounds punched through varium hide that could supposedly stop standard plasma fire. Krell stumbled but didn't fall. His species could take incredible punishment. The cargo bay erupted into chaos. Pirates scrambled for weapons while hostages dropped flat. Diana's rifle sang from above. Methodical shots dropping targets with mechanical precision. Every bullet found a weak point. Every squeeze of the trigger meant one less threat. Chris and Ashley moved in tandem, covering each other's advances. Veterans who'd fought through the Belt Wars knew how to clear rooms, knew where enemies would take cover, knew which angles were fatal and which were safe. They weren't faster or stronger than the varium. They were smarter, more experienced, more willing to do whatever it took. Robert reached the hostages. "Stay down," he shouted, already pulling medical supplies from his kit. A Zelthian merchant had been wounded in the crossfire. Robert's hands moved automatically, training overriding fear. 30 more pirates flooded into the cargo bay. The humans fell back to defensive positions, using the hostages as a line they wouldn't let the enemy cross. Wilson's prosthetic arm caught. Varium blade strike. The reinforced titanium held while bone would have shattered. He used the opening to put 2 rounds through the pirate's throat. "They're fighting like Earth predators," Commander Illith watched in stunned silence. "Coordinated pack tactics, exploiting every weakness." "Human military doctrine evolved from studying wolves and lions," Ambassador Grant explained. "We learned from the best hunters on our planet." "But they're so small," Illith protested. "Size doesn't matter when you understand leverage and vital points," Grant replied. "Watch Diana. She weighs maybe 60 kilograms, but she's eliminated 12 targets, each shot placed with surgical precision. That's 15 years of training and 5 years of combat experience." Ashley triggered charges she'd placed. A corridor collapsed, cutting off pirate reinforcements. "East access blocked," she called out. "West side holding," Chris responded, his rifle barrel glowing from sustained fire. A wounded varium pirate crawled toward Robert, not attacking, pleading. "Medical aid," it gasped in broken common tongue. Robert hesitated only a second before treating the enemy's wounds. "I'm a medic," he said. "I help everyone." The pirate stared at him, confused. "You fight with such violence, then show mercy." "That's what makes us human," Robert replied. "We can do both." Krell rallied his remaining forces, barking orders in his native language. He'd underestimated these soft creatures, assumed their emotional nature made them weak. He was learning the truth. Human emotion included rage, included determination, included the absolute refusal to let innocents die. Wilson's team had lost the element of surprise but gained something more valuable: respect. The pirates now understood they faced trained soldiers. The hostages understood that rescue was real. Hope changed everything. "Reactor room," Diana's voice crackled over comms. "I've got eyes on 3 pirates heading for engineering if they scuttle the ship." "I'm on it," Wilson cut in. "Ashley, Chris with me, everyone else hold this position." They moved fast, through corridors slick with hydraulic fluid and emergency lighting. The ship was old, poorly maintained. Pipes leaked and panels hung loose. Wilson used every imperfection, every shadow, every blind corner. 2 pirates waited in ambush. They'd learned human tactics, adapted. Wilson respected that even as he put them down. Combat was evolution in real time. Learn or die. The reactor room was massive. Stolen fusion core humming with barely contained power. Krell stood at the controls, his claws poised over the detonation sequence. "Come closer and I destroy everything," he snarled. "You'll die too," Ashley pointed out. "Dying in battle is honor," Krell replied. "Living as prey is shame." Wilson lowered his weapon. "You're not prey. You're a warrior who made bad choices. Surrender. Face trial. Your life doesn't have to end here." "Humans offer mercy to enemies." Krell's laugh was bitter. "More proof of your weakness." "Mercy is strength," Wilson said. "Killing you is easy. Letting you live takes real courage." For a moment something flickered in Krell's eyes. Doubt. Consideration. Then pride reasserted itself. His claw moved toward the detonation switch. Diana's shot came through a ventilation shaft. Impossible angle, perfect placement. The bullet severed tendons in Krell's arm. His claw spasmed. Hit the wrong control. Emergency lockdown engaged instead of detonation. Ashley rushed forward, her combat knife finding the gap in Krell's armor. He fell. Finally, the pirate leader defeated not by superior strength but by superior tactics. "Reactor stable," Chris confirmed, checking the readings. "We're not exploding today." Back in the cargo bay, the remaining pirates surrendered when word spread that Krell had fallen. Leaderless, facing enemies who fought with terrifying efficiency, they chose survival over honor. The rescued hostages stared at their saviors, these scarred humans who'd appeared from nowhere, who'd fought with controlled violence, who'd shown mercy even in the middle of battle. David Wong approached Wilson. "Thank you," the teenager said simply. "You're welcome," Wilson replied. Then his legs gave out, adrenaline fading, wounds catching up. He'd been shot twice, hadn't even noticed in the chaos. Robert was there immediately. "You're losing blood fast." "How bad?" Wilson asked. "Bad enough that you're benched for a week," Robert replied, already working. "Good enough that you'll live to be stupid another day." 2 humans had died. Frank Dawson took a plasma bolt protecting hostages. Patricia Holmes held a choke point until she ran out of ammunition. Both gave everything. Both would be remembered. The broken promise docked with the pirate vessel. Calvin's voice over the comms. "Galactic defense. Fleet just arrived. They're demanding explanations." "Let them demand," Wilson said. "We did what needed doing." Through the Blood Takers' viewports, they watched 5 massive GDF warships arrive. Too late. Their negotiation teams prepared for discussions that were no longer necessary. Their commanders confused about how civilian humans accomplished what trained soldiers hadn't attempted. Commander Illith's communication came through. "This is Meridian Exchange Security. You are all under arrest for unauthorized military action." Diana laughed, exhausted, bloody, victorious. "Arrest us later. We've got wounded to tend and dead to honor." The docking bay of Meridian Exchange had never seen such a crowd. Thousands of beings from dozens of species pressed against the safety barriers. Some came to thank the human veterans, others simply to witness the warriors who'd accomplished the impossible. News of the rescue had spread through the galactic network faster than light-speed communication. Wilson limped down the broken promises ramp. Robert's emergency treatment had stabilized him, but his torso was wrapped in regenerative bandages. Diana supported him on one side, Calvin on the other. Behind them came the rest of the team carrying 2 flag-draped bodies. Frank and Patricia deserved to come home with honor. The crowd fell silent as the fallen veterans passed. Species that didn't understand human military traditions somehow recognized the solemnity of the moment. Commander Illith stood at attention, his mandibles still. Even he could respect sacrifice. Ambassador Grant met them halfway, tears streaming down her face. "You've changed everything," she whispered. "We just saved some lives," Wilson replied. "You showed the galaxy what humans really are," Grant corrected. The hostages emerged next. David Wong's family rushed to embrace him. Zelthian merchants bowed deeply to their rescuers. Even some Varium civilians approached, offering formal apologies for their species' actions. The pirate attack had become a turning point, proof that peaceful assumptions about the universe were dangerously naive. Station Medical took the wounded. Alien doctors who dismissed human physiology as fragile now treated veterans with newfound respect. They'd watched the battle footage, seen humans fight through injuries that would incapacitate most species, seen Robert perform field surgery under fire, seen Diana make shots. That required precision most beings couldn't achieve with targeting computers. Commander Illith approached Wilson in the medical bay. "I owe you an apology," the insectoid said. "I called you damaged, broken, unsuitable for real combat." "We are damaged," Wilson replied. Every person who's seen war carries scars. The question isn't whether you're broken, it's what you do with the pieces. The Council wants to meet with you, Illith continued. They're reconsidering many things. 3 days later, Wilson stood before the Galactic Council, his team beside him. The chamber was built for giants. High ceilings and vast spaces. Humans looked small here, but no one in the room dismissed them anymore. The Council High Speaker, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline matrix, addressed them directly. You violated 63 regulations, ignored direct orders, and deployed military force without authorization. The speaker's voice resonated through the chamber. Yes, Wilson said simply. You also saved 200 lives, eliminated a pirate threat, and exposed critical flaws in our security protocols. The speaker continued. The Council is divided on how to proceed. Punish us if you must, Diana spoke up, but understand we'd do it again. That's precisely the problem, another Council member interjected, a Corvan philosopher whose species prized debate over action. You humans resort to violence so readily. We resort to violence when all other options have failed or take too long, Wilson corrected. Your negotiators needed weeks. Those hostages had hours. We chose saving lives over following procedure. But what stops you from deciding violence is always the answer, the Corvan pressed. Robert stepped forward. Our own experience, every person on my team knows the cost of combat. We've buried friends, carried the wounded, seen what war does to people. We don't celebrate violence. We accept it as a last resort when innocents need protection. The debate continued for hours. Some council members argued for harsh punishment. Others praised the veterans' actions. Humans sat silent through most of it, letting their deeds speak louder than words. Finally, the High Speaker called for order. The Council has reached a decision. You will not be punished for your actions. Instead, we propose something unprecedented. Ambassador Grant leaned forward, curious. Earth's military veterans have capabilities the galaxy needs, the speaker explained. We propose the creation of a rapid response force, human-led, council-sanctioned, to handle situations requiring immediate action. Wilson exchanged glances with his team. You want us to be your soldiers. We want you to be our protectors, the speaker corrected. Voluntary service, full council authority, proper resources and support. The galaxy has relied on diplomacy and negotiation for millennia. Recent events prove that sometimes those tools aren't enough. What about oversight? Diana asked. Who decides when we deploy? Joint authority, the speaker replied. Human commanders with council approval. Emergency situations allow autonomous action with after-action review. We're not asking you to be mercenaries. We're asking you to extend the protection you showed those hostages to all peaceful species. The team withdrew to discuss. 23 veterans facing a choice that would define humanity's role in the galaxy. I'm tired of fighting, Ashley said quietly. I joined to protect Earth, did my time, wanted to build something instead of destroy. No one's forcing you, Wilson assured her. This is voluntary. But someone needs to do it, Chris added. We've seen what happens when predators face defenseless prey. Calvin spoke up. I lost my legs protecting a civilian convoy, spent 2 years in rehab, told myself never again. He paused. But if I don't use what I learned, those sacrifices mean nothing. They voted, 19 agreed to join. 4, including Ashley, chose to pursue other paths. No judgment, no pressure. Everyone understood that serving meant different things. Wilson returned to the council chamber. We accept, under conditions. Name them, the speaker said. 1, we don't become enforcers of council policy. We protect civilians, not political interests. 2, we maintain human command structure. Aliens can advise, but final tactical decisions are ours. 3, psychological support for all members. Combat takes a toll and we need proper care. 4, the right to refuse missions that violate human ethics. The council agreed. Surprisingly quickly, desperation drove acceptance. The Human Defense Initiative was born. HDI, funded by the Council, commanded by veterans, dedicated to protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Wilson's first act as commander was establishing memorial protocols. Frank and Patricia were honored in a ceremony attended by thousands, their names inscribed on a wall that would hold all HDI fallen, proof that even warriors valued life. The second act was recruiting, messages sent to every human colony, every veteran organization, seeking volunteers who understood both the necessity and cost of violence. Responses flooded in, hundreds of former soldiers, sailors, pilots, all willing to serve again, all carrying their own scars, all determined to make their trauma mean something. Training began immediately. 6 months after the Meridian Exchange rescue, HDI headquarters orbited Earth's moon, a converted military station now housing 200 human veterans from across known space. The memorial wall had grown, 3 more names added from training accidents and 1 from their first official deployment. Wilson stood in the command center watching recruitment interviews, a former pilot from the Europa Defense Force, a Marine who'd served in the outer colonies, a Navy medic who'd seen action during the trade route wars. Each brought skills, each brought scars, each understood why they were needed. "Commander," Diana approached with a data pad, "we've received 43 requests for assistance this week alone." "How many are legitimate emergencies?" Wilson asked. 11, Diana replied. "The rest are political disputes trying to use us as leverage or species wanting bodyguards for trade negotiations." "Remind them we're not mercenaries," Wilson said. "We protect civilians from immediate threats, nothing more." The galaxy was still learning what HDI represented. Some species saw them as saviors, others as dangerous wildcards. Human military capability had become a subject of intense study and debate. Universities offered courses on Earth's violent history. Military academies analyzed human tactics. Philosophers questioned whether a species so skilled at violence could truly be trusted. Robert ran the psychological support program from a quiet section of the station. He'd learned that warriors needed safe spaces to process trauma. Weekly sessions were mandatory, no exceptions. "How are you holding up?" he asked Diana during her evaluation. "Nightmares are back," she admitted. "Training the new recruits, showing them how to kill efficiently, it brings everything to the surface." "That's normal," Robert assured her. "You're passing on skills that save lives, but it means reliving experiences you'd rather forget." "Do you ever regret it?" Diana asked. "Getting back into this?" Robert considered the question carefully. "Every day I regret that we live in a universe where this is necessary," he finally said, "but I don't regret choosing to be the shield when others can't be." Their first major deployment came 8 months after formation, a mining colony of 3,000 Zelthians under attack by raiders. The colony was days from the nearest Galactic Defense Fleet patrol. HDI could reach them in 10 hours. Wilson assembled his team, 30 veterans including Diana, Chris, and Calvin. "Standard protection protocol," he briefed. "Evacuate civilians first, engage hostiles only if necessary to protect innocents, no unnecessary force." "Rules of engagement?" a new recruit asked. Young woman named Bate Harris Fresh from Mars Defense Force. "Protect life above all else," Wilson replied. "Enemy combatants get one chance to surrender. After that, we do what's needed." The HDI ship Phoenix dropped into normal space above the colony. Raiders scattered immediately. Word had spread about human combat capability. Most pirates now avoided conflicts where HDI might respond. But these raiders were desperate or stupid, probably both. Diana's tactical analysis showed 20 hostile ships, mixed species crews, pirates who'd operated in this sector for years preying on peaceful merchants. "They're grouping for a fight," she reported. "Attention hostile vessels," Wilson broadcast on all frequencies. "This is HDI Commander Wilson Reed. You have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. The next chance you get is in front of a council tribunal." The lead raider ship responded with weapons fire, primitive but effective. The Phoenix's shields held easily. "Hostile intent confirmed," Diana said calmly, engaging defensive protocols. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. HDI ships moved with precision, their weapons disabled rather than destroyed, targeting engines and weapon systems. Raiders who'd terrorized peaceful species for decades found themselves outmatched, outmaneuvered, and utterly overwhelmed. 12 minutes after first contact, 15 raider ships drifted powerless. 3 had fled. 2 destroyed when they refused to stop firing on civilian targets. 0 HDI casualties, 0 civilian casualties. The Zelthian colony administrator greeted them with confusion. "You defeated them so quickly." "Speed saves lives," Wilson replied. "Prolonged combat means more chances for civilians to be hurt." "But you showed mercy," the administrator continued. "You could have destroyed them all." "Destroying people is easy," Chris said. "Capturing them alive so they face justice, that takes skill." The rescued raiders were handed to council authorities. Most would spend decades in rehabilitation facilities. A few faced execution for prior murders. All had learned that the galaxy's peaceful species now had protectors. Back at HDI headquarters, Wilson compiled the after-action report. Clean operation, minimal resource expenditure, mission parameters achieved, but something bothered him. "We're becoming too good at this," he told Robert during their weekly session. "Explain," Robert prompted. "6 months ago, species feared us. Now they depend on us," Wilson said. "What happens when the galaxy can't function without human violence to protect them?" "You think we're enabling their pacifism," Robert understood. "I think we need to start training other species," Wilson replied. "Teaching them to defend themselves. HDI should be temporary, not permanent." The proposal went to the council. Predictable resistance followed. Warrior species like the Varium felt threatened by the suggestion of military training for traditionally peaceful species. Peaceful species themselves were divided. Some wanted to learn, others found the idea abhorrent. Ambassador Grant argued in favor. "Humanity didn't choose to be warriors. Earth forced us to adapt or die. But we also learned that strength without wisdom leads to destruction. Let us teach both." The council approved a pilot program, 20 volunteers from 10 different species. Human instructors teaching not just combat tactics, but the philosophy behind them. When to fight, when to negotiate, how to recognize the difference between necessary force and excessive violence. Diana led the first class, standing before alien students who looked at her with mix of fear and respect. "I'm going to teach you things your species never needed to know," she began. "How to hurt, how to kill, how to survive when violence finds you," she paused. "But more importantly, I'm going to teach you when not to use these skills." A young Zelthian raised a tentacle. "Why teach us at all if violence is wrong?" "Violence isn't wrong or right," Diana replied. "It's a tool like fire. It can cook your food or burn down your home. Depends on who's holding it and why." Months became years. HDI expanded to 500 members. Piracy in council space dropped by 60%. Civilian casualties from raids approaching 0. But the real victory was quieter, species learning to protect themselves, understanding that peace required both diplomatic skill and defensive capability. Wilson walked the memorial wall, now holding 23 names, veterans who'd given everything protecting others. "We didn't choose to be warriors," he said to their memory, "but we chose what to do with it." The galaxy had learned its lesson, mistaking kindness for weakness, compassion for cowardice. Humans proved that the most dangerous warriors were those who understood the cost of violence and chose mercy anyway.